Hi guys, I hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I'm Nika and I make book related videos, and today I'm going to be sharing with you all the books that I read in May. I had a really good reading time in May. Professionally, it was quite a hectic month, so all of the books that I read this month, which are just 6 I think, really kept me sane, I would say. So without further ado, I'm gonna dive right in, and I hope you enjoy this video and take some recommendations if these books are up your alley. So in May, I finally picked up the entirety of the Twisted series. Now, the Twisted series is a collection of interconnected standalones, which means that basically, even though all the characters appear in all of these books, each story or each book is about one couple alone. So basically, throughout all of these 4 books, we follow 4 girls in a friends group, and each story is basically her romance. So the first book is Twisted Love, and I actually have read this twice before. This was my third time reading it, and I really enjoyed it. So the tropes that this follows is brother's best friend, enemies, kind of like forced proximity, and touch her and I'll kill you, grumpy ex, sunshine, all of those. So basically we follow Ava, who is one of the girls in this whole friends group, and her brother is moving away, so he asks his best friend Alex Volkov to keep an eye on her, so basically be a glorified babysitter. And of course that is how the romance will bloom between all of them. Not all of them, between the 2 of them. I really enjoyed this book. I mean, you can probably tell by the fact that this was my 3rd reread of the book. The first time I think I read it, the second time was an audiobook, and this is my 3rd time actually reading the physical copy. I actually borrowed this one from my friend, so I'm very grateful to her for sharing this with me. I really enjoyed it. I do have to say that Alex Volkov is my dream man. I might say that same thing about all of the guys in this collection, or the guys that I'll talk about in this video. But anyway, I really loved it. So like I mentioned, the tropes are ones that I really like. So if those tropes are something up your alley, then you can definitely check it out. So moving on, book 2 in this series is Twisted Games. In this book we follow Bridget, the second girl in this whole friends group, and she is an actual princess. So in this, basically we follow her romance with her bodyguard. So it's a very much forbidden romance, I would say, but that said, it also has a lot more of sex scenes compared to Twisted Love. So maybe go in knowing that, because I personally wasn't a fan of that. So that is an ick that I had with this book. But overall it was really nice. There's a lot of angst, much more so than Twisted Love in this one, because their romance is essentially forbidden. So this one was a bit different from the first one, but overall it was really nice, because in this book you do see a lot more of politics, because she is a princess, right? So she knows all about, she has to learn a lot about running a country and all of those. And this one also, I have to mention, it does take place over a longer period of time. There are many more time jumps in this one compared to this first book, because this romance, or rather the characters of this book, that is the bodyguard race, is actually introduced in this one. So to catch up to all of that, there are many time jumps in this one. That said, the author does it well, so I did not have to I was not confused at all. I really enjoyed it, and this is one I would definitely recommend. If we have to talk about stars, let me check how many stars did I rate it. Where are my notes? Yeah, I rated both book 1 and book 2 4 stars each. Then moving on, I picked up Twisted Hate, which follows Jules, the 3rd girl in our friends group, and the male main interest is Josh Chen, who is actually Ava's brother. Now this one was a really interesting book, because it's an enemies to lovers romance. So, and these 2 people are kind of like actually enemies. They don't really gel well. They're always at each other's throats, one upping the other. So the banter is actually quite good in this one. That said, again, this one also has a lot more sex scenes, so keep in mind. And this one is actually quite long. However, there were some portions in this where I thought it was unnecessary and just, you know, elongated the storyline, the plot line too much. But overall, I did enjoy it. However, this is the book that I rated the least out of all 4. I rated book 3 stars. So yeah, but this one was also very good and very interesting. Both of these characters are very career focused, you know, very ambition driven. So it's very interesting to see how they clash, especially because their personalities are so similar in so many ways as well. So that's that, 3 stars. Then lastly, we have Twisted Lies, which is book 4 in the Twisted series, and in this book we follow Stella, the 4th and final girl in the friends group. And Stella is basically an influencer, and the male main character is basically her landlord, and because of a series of events, she is compelled to live with him in the same house. So there's forced proximity. There's also fake dating in this book, which I really enjoyed. There's also an age gap, and there are some elements which kind of not everyone might be willing or eager to read, and that is also something that I was not comfortable with, because as an influencer, Stella does face her share of stalkers. So there's this stalker angle as well in this book, which is something I personally did not enjoy. But overall, it was nice. It was well done. Oh, and by the way, I do have to say that this book has a lot of gore. Not a lot, but compared to the other books, which more or less have, you know, none, this one does have a bit of gore, so keep that in mind. It's very nice, and it does take place also over a year. And this one I rated this one 3 stars as well. Overall, I think the books are really well done, and I think these books are a great starting point for romance as well. If you want to dive into adult romance, then this is a nice place to start, because all 4 together cover different tropes, so there's something for everyone, I think. And the fact that these are all interconnected standalones means that you can basically pick up any one and then be fine with it, because each couple is different. But that said, they are all within the same friends group, right? So they are all going to appear in one another's story. And if you read, let's say, book 3, you might know how it turned out for the others in the other books. So I would definitely say that you should go chronologically. But that said, since it is these are all standalones, you can read them individually as well. But yeah, I'm really happy that I could read all of them, and all 4 of these books were actually lent to me by my friends. I'm really thankful, and I want to, you know, give them a shout out for being such amazing friends. These are the kinds of friends we need, who lend you books. Then I read an ebook, and this one is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata, and this is my third, I think it was my third or second time reading it. So basically we follow 2 people. I've actually forgotten their names, surprisingly. We've got Vanessa Mazur, and I've forgotten the guy's name. Aiden? I don't know. So anyway, he's a big time football player, and she is his kind of woman Friday. She does everything for him. She does his laundry. She's like a housekeeper, but then she's also like a secretary. So for the longest time, she's been working for him, and it's been putting a lot of pressure on her because she's unable to pursue her own interests. But then finally she ups and quits, and she wants to follow her own, you know, dream. But then some days later, he comes up to her and says that he wants her back in his life, and they decide to do a sort of like marriage of convenience again, which I really love, for certain reasons, because he's a Canadian. Match the dots, will you? But like I said, this was of course a reread, and I have to say that this is one of my favorite romances, so I really enjoyed reading it. I think this book, the romance is kind of slow burn, because see, to be very honest, from the beginning she kind of has a crush on him, she's conscious about him, but for him he develops feelings later on, but he falls harder, I have to say that. So it's very interesting, and the fact that this romance is kind of realistic, because it's not like, you know, the guy is swooning for her and, you know, doing everything. I mean, of course they do, he loves her, right? But at the same time, their connection, their friendship is also there, so they start as friends, so that bond, that bantering is also very, very nice, and one I really, really liked. So I do have to say that this was a nice read, and I would definitely recommend it. Even after having reread it, I can say that I rated it 4 stars, 4 out of 5 stars, and I would say that you can definitely check it out. Since this is my first Mariana Zapata, I really want to read From Luke Off with Love soon, but let's see how that turns out. Then the last book I read in the month of May was My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Now, if you have heard about this book, I think you might have heard about this book. This was quite an intense read. Now listen to the synopsis and then decide for yourself if you want to read it, because it has a lot of trigger warnings that I should warn you about as well. Go through the trigger warnings before you pick up this book, because it is definitely not for everyone. So here's the synopsis. All he did was fall in love with me, and the world turned him into a monster. Vanessa Y was 15 years old when she first had sex with her English teacher. She's now 32, and in the storm of allegations against powerful men in 2017, the teacher, Jacob Strain, has just been accused of sexual abuse by another former student. Vanessa is horrified by this news because she is quite certain that the relationship she had with Strain wasn't abuse. It was love. She's sure of that. Forced to rethink her past, to revisit everything that happened, Vanessa has to redefine the greatest love story of her life, her greatest sexual awakening as rape. Now she must deal with the possibility that she might be a victim, and just one of many. Nuanced, uncomfortable, bold, and powerful, My Dark Vanessa goes straight to the heart of some of the most complex issues of our age. So like I said, this was a very, very intense read. It dealt a lot with abuse, grooming, so that is something quite intense to read about. That said, I think the writing was exquisite. The way the author described the feelings, the change in how she feels about this, the character that is Vanessa, the change in her feelings about this whole issue, it's also very gradual, and I also think very aptly given. So there are 2 timelines basically. One is the current timeline when all of these allegations are coming up in the Me Too movement, and then one is the many years earlier when she was a kid, and when the whole event happened when she was basically groomed by her teacher. So we have these two alternating timelines, and we see her trying to reconcile things, how it started, how her feelings developed, how what she thought was her greatest love story developed, and in the current timeline when all of these allegations are coming up and she's forced to rethink that, it might not have been love after all. It was quite an intense read, but in terms of the literary writing, I think this was a very beautifully written book. There are so many lines I underlined, but at the same time it was so intense. I did shed a few tears as well. There was this one instance when I woke up early in the morning and I thought I would begin my day by reading a book. I picked up this book, because I was reading it at a time, and I thought I would do a bit of, since I had time, I would read a few pages. Definitely not the right choice to begin my day with this book. It's very sad, very depressing at some times. So yeah, that's my warning for you guys. I hope you all have a look at the trigger warnings before actually picking up this book. So those are all the 6 books I read this month. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly really had a nice time reading all of them, even though this video kind of ended on a heavy note. My reading kind of ended on a heavy note because I read My Dark Vanessa towards the end of the month. It was an overall really enriching reading month, I would say. I read romance, which really stabilized me when my life was going in a very hectic, very fast-paced way, and at the same time My Dark Vanessa really grounded me. So I think it was a nice balance of everything. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you took some of these books as recommendations. If you have read any of these books, don't forget to let me know what you thought about them. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you had a nice time, and I'll see you with another video very, very soon. Until then, take care and peace out.